We are we're live, LCI Congress. We are back today for another live stream, and we have got some advanced practitioners. I am so excited for this one. We also have a live stream veteran on with us now. She's done what, Joan, 3 or 4 of these live streams now? You
Yeah,
start to feel a little comfortable back here behind the video camera? What do you think?
it's all good. It's all good.
Nice. Well, I'm excited. We've got Kevin Lebrecq and Andreas Phelps, two just well-known lean names. Andreas, I'll never forget the little mini book on the self-sufficient home that I first read, where I discovered you. Yeah, that tiny
Tiny
house
house.
of lean. Yeah, man, I like those principles in there were so just eye-opening for me, and to know that you lived through an experiment, I think is such a cool thing. So I'm excited to dive into a little bit more about who you are, but first, the world knows that I am an icebreaker fiend. I love me a good icebreaker, and I love opening up, getting some buzz in the conversation. So what I'm after, and maybe Miss Joan, you can kick us off here and then send it to whoever you want out there, but I want to know, since this is an advanced practitioner little live stream here. I'm curious, like, when have you actually failed with this thing that we call lean? Joan, what do you got for me here?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I do know that we, in our plus deltas at Congress, folks like to hear about failure. I think it's just the way they learn. And sometimes we get deltas if, it may be an excellent presentation, but they're like, oh, they only told us about the good things that happened. We really don't feel like we heard about their bumps in the road. So I'll just start with that.
Fair enough. I love it. And let's kick it over to Andreas, man. You got any like good stories for us or anything about a time you maybe failed with this thing we call lean?
Oh, I it's not a cop out, but man, I fail all the time. It's what I call learning. I mean, I ask my kids. I always tell them, I'm like, you make a mistake, that's fine, as long as you learn from it, right? And so, but I mean, I'll give you a specific example. Well, the other thing I would say is just we don't tend to pay attention to things unless they become a little uncomfortable. And so failure actually has a very important part in the learning process. And there was a lesson that I learned many years ago. I had just run a phase planning session for a project, and it was a disaster. I mean, I'd done dozens of them that had gone very smoothly, and this one was a disaster. And I'm on the plane heading back home, and I'm like, do I offer the client their money back? Like, that's how bad it was, right? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I showed up, I did the exact same, I put the energy and the passion that I put in all these sessions, I put that into that. But it was a very important thing to realize that there's some pre-work that I need to do with the team. The team needed to own it. This couldn't be a transactional thing where they call up some guy and I come there and run a session for them and magic happens. And so after that point, I learned that, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I have to do to actually test the team before we agree to do something like this, to make sure that they're bought in, that they've got some skin in the game, and that they actually know, what they want to try to get out of it, and that they're motivated to do it, and it's not just a transactional thing. So that was a very interesting situation, but a good lesson in appropriate boundaries, and also making sure that you got a team that's engaged, not just you trying to be an individual high performer. So I don't know, Kevin, what about you?
And that was great, Andreas. Yeah, you nailed it.
For me personally, the thing that came to mind is partially a Kevin issue, personality-wise. I'm a yes and kind of guy, and when my stomach is always, my eyes are always bigger than my stomach. This is now going back 15-ish, 17 years ago. I was in the fortunate position. I know several of us in the advanced practitioner community are always looking to land in a spot where the CEO and leadership team are all behind it, and everybody's, technically saying yes to lean. And we had the private equity partner that was looking for it.
and jumped right in. And in my naivete and my desire to go high speed everywhere all at once, we were attempting to do everything all at once everywhere. And when you try to spin, and we had 14 branches at the time, so it was like, yeah, go, 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 go. And when you try to spin 14 plates, you break a few plates, as it turns out. And I can remember being at Congress, and it was a Toyota support systems production team. There was a presentation from one of the guys, and I went up to him afterwards, and he was like, I was explaining the situation. And I knew this already, but he was like, no, that's why we do the line leader approach, where you take a line in a manufacturing plant and you make that one line become the shining example, and then let that story tell itself. It builds its own momentum. Plus, you had the opportunity to actually train and develop at all levels in order to make it successful, as opposed to just trying to like sprinkle down, from the top or whatever it takes, because you can't possibly resource something that large at all times, at all places. So just pick the priority areas, and we know a lot of different ways to find them. Could be where the backlog is, could be where you have the most pain, it could be where you have the most likelihood of adoption and success. But don't, for the love of God, don't try to boil the ocean, because you're going to get yourself into a little bit of trouble organizationally, and then as a person, as an individual, you stretch yourself super thin, and you can't help everybody all at once. So that's my early learning from an advanced practitioner perspective.
Amen, brother. And there's a bit of listening that goes in there as well, without a doubt. I think all lean folks, no matter what level you're at, we suffer from a little bit of an abundant of mindset perspective, right? Because we want more, and it's continuous improvement, and let's do it and do it. And man, that's one thing I've learned as well. Those small J's, I call them, the one piece, right? The Lean Builder book comes to mind. Just do a daily huddle. And then, hey, maybe a picture, right? Maybe a little floor plan you can write on. And then let's start talking about weekly work plan and improvement and that sort of thing. And before you know it, you've got the whole system going on. So thank you all for being transparent, a bit vulnerable there. I really appreciate it. I'm going to tell you a quick story of my failure. And I was the lean champion, right? We were actually here at Clemson, where I'm sitting today, and I got to build be part of a team that got to build a large project, and I was the lean champion. And I read all of, Greg and Glenn's papers, and man, I knew how to fill out that Post-it, and I was all about that process. Exactly, Andreas. It failed miserably, right? People were laughing at me. I had the whole pull plan was behind my desk in my office, and it was all lined out. That's all we had to do is right there. But yet, for some reason, I was a little bit overbearing. I missed the human side of this, right? I took the tool, and man, I tried to jam it into the project. And that was an awakening moment for me, where I realized it doesn't work that way, right? The tools are there. They're designed to be flexible, right? They're designed to fit the project, and we've got to pull the tool, right? And to put a spin on it. I think that's a beautiful way to put it, is we cannot just be so regimented around how to do the tool. There is some flexibility, and really the value is in the conversations that we're creating. So I'm actually super excited, because I'm going to have get to do a presentation this year, and it's on that exact scenario that I just talked about, how I failed. So I'm looking forward to that quite a bit here. And Omniverse, if you're out there, I see Jody Fitzgerald just popped us with the question here. I'm going to pull that up in just a minute, but please, 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 these are advanced practitioners. If you want to get some info, if you've got questions for them, put them in the chat, and we're going to work it in as we start going through the next 20, 25 minutes here during this discussion. And I had this one teed up. Kevin, I'm going to come to you. I'm really curious, what the heck is an advanced practitioner anyway?
So LCI now has some definitions to the different levels overall. And we have, over the years, had just a way for us to, as we program Congress, kind of put things into buckets, so people understood this content is for the introductory, intermediate, and advanced practitioner level. The definition is actually on LCI's website. Anybody can go look for it. It's under the learning tab overall, but I'm just going to read it out loud to you so everybody hears it verbatim. But it's an advanced practitioner is someone who's been leading lean initiatives and is coaching others. At this stage, the goal is continuous improvement and seeking new ways to challenge yourself and others. So let's talk about Congress here in a little bit on the road to mastery overall. So it's this you have some skills you have implemented, and you are coaching others, and you are up for the challenge of sharpening your sword against other stones that are also advanced practitioners. And I think that, I'll lean right into why we even do this from a Congress perspective as well. Is it's always about providing the content that meets the needs of the entirety of the lean community. And that's both in terms of what we call the four legs of the stool, the ownership side, or really five: academic ownership, designers, engineers, trade partners, and general contractors. And then we also look at if you're a beginner or you're intermediate or advanced practitioner. And we're always trying to create the time and space within the body of Congress that continues to make it a high value experience for advanced practitioners. Because sometimes if you've seen the content over and over again, you're like, I can probably miss this one. And you wind up talking to people in the hallway. I mean, that's been the genesis over the years of, like, you wind up having a really good conversation, again, sharpening your sword against another. You're just really grinding it with other people and saying, what are you doing? Or what are your challenges? And then you just get into this long conversation. So we've been, over the years, evolving how we try to meet the needs of the advanced practitioner and create the time and space for that kind of level of conversation to happen. So sometimes curated and sometimes just free and open. So we're excited with what we can offer this year. So.
Yeah, I love that perspective, Kevin. Like the hallway conversation spawned this thing, right? Like that's such a beautiful way to put it.
I got one for you, Mr. Hoots, because I remember this moment very clearly, and I think it was in Texas. I believe it was in Texas. So somebody I think you had just finished giving a presentation, or somebody had just finished giving a presentation. And you said, does everybody know there's actually work going on at the hotel here? Because when I got coffee this morning, I talked to the superintendent, the foreman outside, and he was like, yeah, we got to shut down today because the event is stopping us from doing work. And you were like, let's go talk to this guy and see how we're impacting his daily work and his workflow. And I was like, awesome. And that's the exact kind of thing that it's like, you can't script everything at Congress, and it's just about trying to create that time for those types of things to happen. That was a memorable moment to me, and it was a fantastic conversation with that individual overall. So I don't remember if it occurred during a network break or whether we were just leading into the next session, but it was just impromptu. And I always appreciated you for being that kind of spontaneous energy in the room to go, let's go and see.
Man, that's incredible, Kevin. That was in Phoenix, and that man's name was Jordan, and he was installing utilities right outside, and he had to be quiet because all these people were talking about how to make work more efficient and productive and eliminating waste. Yeah, dude, that is so awesome that you brought that back. I love that, Kevin. Thank you for that, my man.
Yep.
So, Andreas, I want to kind of bounce this one off of you here. Like, I think Kevin did a wonderful job, kind of helping get the LCI message out there as far as like what is an advanced practitioner, and kind of put his little spin on it too. I love that. I want to hear your spin on advanced practitioner and kind of what that means to you, where it comes from, and how important it is to this community.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. And I mean, it actually goes to the comment that you shared, the story that you shared in where you failed. I think it is a spectrum. I mean, you get introduced to lean, you start practicing in it, you get good at it, and then you get to the point where you think you know something, but then it almost comes full circle back to beginner, right? Because now you know all the things that you don't know, and you realize that I perfected the use of the tool, I got the process down, but now I haven't actually worked on the behaviors. I haven't focused on the behaviors. I haven't focused on the mindset of the people that are engaging with it. And so now I got to relearn all those things with that added level. And then, and then maybe you get good at that. And then all of a sudden you realize, well, this actually has to be embodied. Like I got to figure out how I live and breathe this, not just speak it, not just lecture other people or teach other people how to do it. I got to live it in my personal life. I got to live it in my professional life, in my interactions. And so now you kind of go through that whole cycle again, but now the focus is on integration and integrity, right? Of how do I live this and how do I embody it so that through my example, people understand what lean is. And so it just keeps going, it just keeps going. So I think an advanced practitioner is someone who understands the tools and processes. They've gotten to the end of that road and they realize actually this is a behavioral game. And then they go back and they try to work with the behaviors, use the process and tools as props for that, for that transformation. And then they realize actually all this me trying to help other people, it's actually me trying to help myself become a better human being. And so that's where I think the road goes. I don't know what's beyond that because I haven't gotten a glimpse of that yet. But yeah, go ahead, Kevin. You got something? Yeah.
Well, I was going to solicit your help then, because I really have my workshop in my garage at home needs a good 5S. So come on over to the Gulf Coast of Florida and give me a hand with that. Talking about walking the talk, man.
Yeah, live in a 200 square foot house. You'll have to 5S.
Oh, yeah.
You need a tiny garage, Kevin. That's what I think. No, that's good. I like that, Andreas. I mean, I hear you talking a little bit about like how do we unlearn something so that we can then make the capacity or space to relearn where to put our attention or where to put our focus. And it does at some point shift from the tools to the people who are using the tools, and that's so important. So thank you for anchoring me back there. Miss Joan, can you help us understand, like, who is this advanced practitioner who is that carved out for? Like what kind of folks would get value out of showing up there?
Oh gosh, well, folks from all our stakeholder groups, so our owners, our folks, general contractors, folks in the design community, our architects, engineers, and our trades. So we invite any of those folks into the four. We can talk a little bit about the 4 sessions we have carved out for folks.
Yeah, let's do that if you don't mind, and then we'll maybe get to Jody's question because it's a zinger. I hope y'all are kind of paying attention to that chat because I'm kind of buying you some time to help figure it out, and I'm definitely tossing it to y'all because I know Jody, and I'll tell you what, he's a great question asker. So Ms. Joan, what are the 4 sessions, and then maybe we can have Andreas and Kevin paint kind of a little bit more of that picture for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So these sessions will hold about 35 folks. We have a great kind of open space this year, and we have 4 planned out for you all. And then we are intending the space for anyone who would like to kind of host an impromptu discussion. So 2 of the sessions follow our core program concurrence. So 1 session will follow 2 AI discussions, so 2 separate presentations. And then folks can join those speakers for a more in-depth discussion or, kind of probe them. And the second subject is on becoming lean. So that is another session where our speakers from the Becoming Lean discussion will be on hand to talk with our advanced practitioners. And then Jessica Kelly of Merck will lead or facilitate a session on incremental strategies. So this is more like a help me, help you. So folks can either come in and say, this is just something I'm really struggling with. What are some suggestions for me to take back to my place of business, or folks who want to help others? And then the 4th session, Andreas is leading. So Andreas, if you could talk to that, the lean moonshot.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so as Joan was saying, that incremental strategies is really meant like for advanced practitioners to get together and say, hey, what am I struggling with? What have I done that's really worked? Let's learn from each other. Let's help each other get smarter and learn from each other's experience rather than each of us having to figure out on our own. And so that's incremental strategies. The Thursday morning one, the 10:15, is really the lean moonshot. And the big idea around that is, look, like if 3 years from now we're just doing pull planning better, we've missed the mark. Like, you know, we need something inspiring and compelling to shoot for. And actually, you know, I looked back at the speech that JFK gave at Rice University when he first said that we're going to the moon. And I'm just going to read a snippet from it real quick. He went on, he listed a bunch of amazing achievements, technological achievements that people had achieved in the last decade or so. And then he goes on and he says, you know, we choose to go to the moon, and we choose to go to the moon this decade and do all these other things that he had mentioned earlier, not because they're easy, but because they're hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one that we're unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win. And so that's the idea behind the lean moonshot, is let's paint a vision, a challenge that forces us to think differently. We cannot get there with what we're doing right now. We have to come up with different ideas, different mental models, different approaches, because otherwise we won't. And it's also something that we have to do together. It's not something that a single lean champion in an organization would be able to get there alone. So look, it's only 45 minutes, but we need some big thinkers that can really, you know, I mean, I do this with teams sometimes. Like, incremental improvement is an easy thing to talk about. If I tell them, how are we going to cut the cost of this project in half, after they roll their eyes and say that's never going to happen, then I say, well, what if it had to happen? What would we have to do differently? And even if we can squeeze 20% out, that's still pretty significant. So the lean moonshot, that's just, you know, we gotta look at this challenge differently if we're going to get anywhere in the next 3 to 5 years. So that's the intent. Come and join us, and we'll see what happens there.
You sold me. I'll be there. I promise you that. Man, I'll tell you what, like, what would it be like if every worker showed up, felt valued, and knew exactly what their goal was for the day? Like, to me, that would be a moonshot and a half right there. For goodness. Yeah, I love putting it out there, manifest it, right? Believe it so hard that you think it and you have no choice but to do it. That's exciting. Man, thank you, Andreas. I really appreciate that very, very much. Well, Kevin, I hate to do this to you, man, but Jody's question is coming to you. So I'm going to flash it up here. And Jody so you just put out a new book, Built Not Forced. So maybe have some of that in your mind as you answer this here. But does the team you're working with truly understand the identity with their position?
Well, I would clarify. I don't know if Jody can pop in on, you know, like the definition of identity becomes, you know, there's so many layers to that, whether it's a role and responsibility, which is a very functional definition, their own personal identification with that role and that responsibility, and their own, the way they internalize it. And then we can get into all cool stuff in terms of how are we leveraging. So I have a specific way that I approach it. I don't care if you use DISC or any other personality profiles. I have a way that I approach problems, and there are different brains sitting around this table. And are we doing a good job of leveraging all of them, including my own? And one of the things that I think from a lean perspective, and it's not just lean, if I'm coaching a strategy session for a company or working with a leadership team, why is always the question that we should be able to answer clearly for everyone. So if there's an identity question, why someone should be doing something, as opposed to this is what or how we do it, but help me understand why is this even important for me to discuss in the first place, I think is part of the identification, both with a process overall, but then if you just look at roles and responsibilities on a project, you can take the org chart and you can have the same conversation But now just looking at the coverage we have, and if we lose one leg of this stool, we don't get a chance of delivering the whole thing. And it's not just within your organization, that's across all of them. And so when we talk about your identity, so if I talk to a foreman about, participating in the overall dialogue that we're having about trying to plan the work, there's a whole bunch of whys in there. And then there's the second piece, which is if it's inside of here and it doesn't come out of here, we don't have a good solution. We've got a half-baked solution. And so if we don't do a good job of hearing what's inside of here from all of the trade partners, what are the hiccups, the things that are impacting you, then we can only guess, and we don't do generally a good job at guessing. That's a long-winded and a roundabout way, but I think identifying their true identity and their role in the process as a contributor is probably one of the key ones, or else we don't have a full solution.
That was beautifully said, Kevin. And you even brought kind of an academic approach to that, right? You're like, man, before I can solve or even answer that question, like, help me understand what identity means to you. And those are the kind of questions that I believe pull that out of people, such that we can create as leaders in in organizations or even in the industry. That sets the parameters for us to be able to then pull out what somebody thinks their identity is, show them a mirror compared to what we expect it to be. And oh my goodness, then we find those unconscious things that we never realized were going on. And the definition piece, like, let's both identify or define what identity means, and then we can go about answering that question. I love that. So Miss Joan, I'm going to come back to you real fast too, because we got another comment. I love these comments coming in. Bradley Henderson wants to know, how does he get involved? What's the location? So, maybe we could just drop some of those things out there, Miss Joan. How would you answer Bradley's comment?
Oh, absolutely. So Congress is coming up in 8 weeks. We are in Atlanta this year, and it's a full week. So the 12th through the 16th of October. So we kick off Monday afternoon with a golf tournament. Tuesday, we offer 30 learning day sessions, 4 to 8 hour sessions. And then our core program is Wednesday and Thursday. We kick off each day with a keynote, and then we go into what we call our concurrent sessions. So, and there's plenty of networking, exhibit hall. There's a lot of great time just to interact with the speakers on a, more, one-on-one basis.
Yeah, and folks, if you don't know Bradley, he's a blue collar guy through and through. I called him for a quick conversation. An hour later, we're still talking on the phone, and that is somebody that stands up for our workers, our people in the field. I know, Bradley, you're an old dog, right? You are living lean. You might not be calling it that, but you are doing those things. And so shout out to you for the question. I appreciate the interaction there. And then I just want to show you, Kevin, you got built, not force approval right there with the answer, man. So you nailed it. Again, I couldn't have designed it any better, man. Thank you for that, Kevin. I really appreciate that response there. Well, I got one for you here, Andreas, and it's my own. So I say it's my own. I actually reached out to Mr. Livestream just before this session, Jesse Hernandez, and I said, man, if you had one question to ask in this advanced practitioner, what would it be? So this is kind of my spin on his question, and so I'm excited. And Kevin, I want you to take a stab at it as well. But Andreas, we'll start with you. So as an advanced practitioner, right, how do you know when the efforts you're putting forth connect and actually help with the people who are suffering in the construction industry? What does that look like?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think the first part of that is to have some genuine curiosity. You've got to, I mean, we talk about this with respect for people. You got to believe that the people that you're working with are worth knowing and their experience is worth understanding. And so how do you know if you're helping somebody if you don't know what's going on for them? So to observe, to ask questions, to ask follow-on questions, to make sure that you really understand, then to try things. I mean, this goes back to where you started us with the icebreaker, to try things and to see how those things fail. What way do they fail? That gives us more insight into what we thought the problem was in the first place. And, again, like we build things, I always say this to project teams. We have all these resources, all these people, and if all we get at the end of it is a building, we totally miss the mark. It's a transformational process within and without, and so we're changing all these materials into something greater, a hospital, a home, a school. If we're not changing the people as we're doing that, that's the biggest potential that exists there, right? And so to pay attention to different people, to pay attention to what's going on for them, where they're struggling, where they're aspiring towards, and trying to see if we can make some aspect of our work something that feeds them in that way, that either supports them where they need support, pushes them to where they're aspiring towards, helps them, feel a sense of pride, feel a sense of growth, of development, of something, fulfillment. I think that's the real thing that we were building. The buildings are just the excuse, but this is a people business, and this experience of life, it's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be meaningful, right? So I think that's what we got to do. We got to seek first to understand, and then as we're trying, we do it with eyes wide open, and we learn, and we just try to refine that every single time. So I don't know if that answers your question, Adam, but that's where
you inspired me. I know that much, and I feel really bad for Kevin now having to come after that, man. Kevin, what do you think, man? Like, how do you know that effort is worth it? That effort connected and actually helped somebody who needs that help?
I'll tell you one from my heart, and that really rings true for me. Overall, when you feel like something happened, and don't take this story as attributing anything really to Kevin LeBrecq. It was what was happening and what we were doing. But we shut down our shop in Lake Mary, Florida, for 2 days to do lean training, and it was a Kaizen event essentially. Do some lean training, and then implement the following morning. We taught some single piece flow, batch size stuff, and did exercises. And then we gave all of the guys in the shop a copy of the floor plan of the shop. And then we said, each of you take an hour and a half. And now that you know some of these things, redesign. We were doing multi-trade racks in the shop. We said, redesign the line. So then each individual got up and presented their ideas, and then we took all the ideas, put them in the bucket together, and we said, what do we think what is the best of each of these, cherry pick, and then see what it looks like. And then we went in the shop the next morning, started pulling it apart and putting it back together. That was the impetus. That was the start. Go back 6 months later, there's a guy in the shop, and we have a short recording of him, Raul, just talking about how excited he was. And he's explaining there's a burn table for putting together flat racks, and I love it because he's telling it. He starts the story by, well, it's metal like this because we used to have a plywood rack and it kept catching fire when we were soldering. So it's like, okay, that pain, that's usually the impetus. And then he walks through each of the incremental improvements that they made to that workstation over time. Right? So they got a little bit of training, they caught the bug, and then the next thing he said is the thing that just gives me chills, and I'm like, that's exactly why we do this. He said, I'm just excited to see what we come up with tomorrow. And that's when the moment, like you got the momentum, and everything that you were trying to do just now the fire caught. Literally, to bring it back to that full thing, the kindling caught in that case. And that to me is like, from an advanced practitioner perspective, like if it relies on you all the time, you're just a very busy person. You're a one-armed paper hanger, and really what you want is this you want the seed to spread and really kind of inspire others to do what they can in their own ideas. That's what like as I said, there's no way I could redesign this shop. I'm not working in it every day. So that's my story answer to that question.
Dude, incredible, right? You're engaging the hearts and minds. And I'm just going to drop this out from old dog Clyde King. It came in a little early, but I know it's coming to you too, Kevin. That was a beautiful answer because 100 brains are better than one, no matter how good that one is. Yeah, that my goodness. To me, yeah, I think it's incredible to be able to engage the people who are closest to the work, those who see the information like right there in front of them every day. And the fact that they're ready for the next improvement tomorrow, Kevin, that's the sign. And you're not like back and forcing it, but they feel heard, they feel valued, they know that what you say is actually going to take place. So
Yeah.
this one is definitely for you, Kevin. Just popped in there, man. It is so great. Like being able to engage the hearts and minds of the workers, that is great, man. So thank you for that answer there, Kevin. And look, Miss Joan Bradley, we got him. So this is worth it right here, right? We got one
Absolutely.
extra person coming to Congress to share their knowledge with the group.
So there's a couple of technical things we should hit real quick. So when you sign up, so thank you, Bradley. When you sign up, you're going to get prompted for the sessions that you'll attend. So you'll be able to pick from the different topics that we have going on in Congress. You'll see the ones that Joan had mentioned. There's one on Wednesday, and there's 2 on Wednesday and 2 on Thursday, and you'll be able to select those. The space is limited though. So we figure about 35 people-ish, Joan, right, can fit in there.
Absolutely.
And it's meant to be exactly that, an intimate space, because once we get over 200 people, it's hard to have an intimate dialogue back and forth. So it's just important that when you register, you do select those things. If those are the pieces of content that you want to engage in from an advanced practitioner perspective, that's an important part of the overall registration process.
Yeah, and just real quick, Kevin, for people that are interested, the AI session is Wednesday at 2:30. But that should follow the AI advanced practitioner presentations that are happening right before that. So if you're in one of those 2 presentations and you want to join the after party, the follow-on conversation, that's Wednesday 2:30. The incremental strategies is Wednesday 3:45. The moonshot discussion is Thursday 10:15, and then the becoming lean is Thursday at 2:30. And again, that follows 2 presentations that are right before that are focused on becoming lean as well. So when you go to register, there's the list there. I think the advanced practitioners are always the last one in that time slot. And like we said earlier, that space is available. If you just want to if you see a bunch of people and you want to have a conversation about something, that space is available, not during those times where there's a program there, but it's available for people to just gather and have good conversation if they want to. Yeah.
Yeah, no more hallway talk, Kevin. We got a room now, baby.
We got couches.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You know what happens on couches, right? We got to go sleep if there's couches.
A nap.
I love it. Yeah. Oftentimes a nap for me as well. Amen, brother. Well, we're coming down to the end. I mean, it's already been almost 40 minutes. So you guys are like naturals. I love it. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I want to get some takeaways though, kind of open table, open discussion. Miss Joan, we'll start with you before we kick it to these 2 advanced practitioners. But what's your kind of takeaways, highlights from our conversation here? What's on your mind, Miss Joan?
Oh, I just think we hope to see you all at Congress. I mean, you'll meet these awesome advanced practitioners. You'll meet folks who are brand new, and they always are so inquisitive and love to learn from you all. So it's just a great experience. So we hope to see you there.
Amen. We will see you there. I love that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Kevin, what's on your mind? Big takeaways from the conversation? Any thoughts?
As I reflect back in terms of prior Congress experiences and exactly what happened on this call, I can honestly say what I experienced at Congress from advanced practitioners just happened. Between the story of you from a go and see perspective, and so much I learned, and always it's a reminder to me, like, no, you just go and see, that's what happens. And then I've sat through every one of Andreas's presentations at Congress, and the inspiration to reflect on who am I being from a leadership perspective. And I thought it was 2 years ago, the one that you did with that gentleman that was so raw and so vulnerable. overall in terms of the crossroads that you hit as you're becoming overall, not just a lean leader, but a human being. I mean, essentially, is part of it. It happened on this call for me. So that's part of the experience overall, and that's what we always hope for advanced practitioners. So.
Yeah, and you're being the example right there by shouting everyone out on the call but yourself, right? All the blame and none the glory. So you, Kevin, are the example, man. Thank you for that. Yeah, he's still going, Andreas. I'm coming to you. Please feel free to tell him that he is the example. And any other thoughts you might have, my brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Kevin summed it up pretty well. I mean, the only thing that I would say is, we got Congress coming up in a couple months. Anytime you go to something like that, it's energizing, it's inspiring. You hear things, you meet people, and there's a high that you have coming out of that. And, something that I always try to remind people is, how do you keep some of that alive? It'll diminish a little, the week that follows. Life keeps happening. You got to, deal with all the issues at work and all that sort of stuff. But how do you hold on to something from that and integrate that into who you are and how you approach your life and your work? And so, like I think Kevin was saying this earlier, you don't have to boil the ocean. You don't have to go back and do all the stuff that you learned. But if you can find one thing that inspired you, one thing that deeply resonated with you, and figure out, okay, how do I keep this alive for the next 3-4 weeks? And if I keep it alive every day for the next, this goes to like our daily work or, daily huddles, leader standard work. If I do one little thing to keep that alive for 4 weeks, now all of a sudden it is an intentional habit. And it's something that is part of how I approach work and how I live my life. And if everyone can just set that as a goal before they go to Congress, I'm just looking for one thing, one spark that I can take home and I can kindle it and turn it into a nice fire that roars in my soul, right? And so something that changes me as a person. So that's the only thing that I would say. It's easy to go to Congress, have a good time, and go back into the real world and forget it all after a couple weeks. Let's make it a transformative experience if we can, even if it's just in a little way.
Yeah, folks, this is bigger than the project. That's what I just heard Andreas say. This is life-changing stuff that we're getting together and talking about. And I love this comment again from Jody. Like, today's decisions create tomorrow's conditions. Protect tomorrow's work. So important. So your decision today to attend LCI in 8 weeks in Atlanta will create conditions for a better tomorrow. And that's what I hear you guys talking about. And another one from Bradley. We definitely got some folks coming in here. I love it. So I just want to say to thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Andreas, for hopping on today and just like being the example of what an advanced practitioner is. We didn't talk about any of the tools. We didn't break them down. So let that be assigned to you, right? I mean, that's my takeaway is like lean construction is not something that we're going to master with tools or in a meeting or even in one Congress, right? We get better by just practicing, by failing, reflecting, adjusting. It's that PDCA loop, right? That plan, do, check, adjust. So if you're sitting around and watching this and you're getting excited as I am right now, like go and register right now. Don't hesitate. Come to Atlanta, LCI 2026. Again, Kevin, Andreas, Miss Joan, thank y'all again. And everybody watching, drop any final questions in the comments. Share this with somebody that needs to be there. You can continue to hit us with questions too. This is going to be out there forever. Kevin and Andreas put it on their stream too. So they'll be watching the comments. Y'all hit us with some questions and let's get down to it. And we will see y'all in Atlanta in October. Peace.